$3. That's it. Not 30. Not 300. $3 for something sitting in your kitchen right now that most gardeners over 60 have thrown away for years without ever knowing what it could do. And here's the wild part. This isn't fertilizer. It's not some fancy seed starter kit they're selling you online for $20 a bottle. It's something so ordinary, so overlooked, that if I told you right now what it was, you'd probably say that's it, and click away. But stick with me. Because by the end of this video, you're going to look at your kitchen completely differently. You're going to look at those seeds you've been babying for 2 weeks with barely a sprout to show for it, and you're going to wonder why nobody told you this sooner. This isn't a gimmick. Gardeners have quietly used this trick for generations. It just got buried under all the fancy products companies want you to buy instead. So if you've ever planted a seed, waited, watered it, waited some more, and felt like nothing was happening, this one's for you. Welcome back to Evergreen Garden Tips, the channel where we prove that a beautiful garden doesn't need a big wallet, just a little know-how. If this is your first time here, hello and welcome. I'm so glad you found us. This channel is built for beginners, for folks over 60 who are just getting their hands back in the dirt, and for anyone who wants real results without spending money they don't need to spend. And if you're one of our regulars, welcome back, friend. You already know how we do things around here. Simple. Honest. No fluff. Before we dig in, if you're new here, consider joining our little garden family by subscribing. It costs you nothing, and it means you won't miss the next trick that could save you time, money, and a whole lot of frustration in that garden of yours. All right. Let's get into it. Let me tell you about my neighbor, Miss Dorothy. 72 years old, been gardening since she was a little girl on her daddy's farm. Last spring, she planted a tray of tomato seeds. Water them just right. Sunlight, perfect spot on the windowsill. And 2 weeks later? Nothing. A few sad little sprouts, and half the tray just sitting there like the seeds forgot how to be seeds. She almost gave up. Almost threw the whole tray in the trash and told herself maybe gardening just wasn't for her anymore. But here's what she didn't know, and what most beginner gardeners don't know either. It's rarely the seed's fault. And it's almost never about how much you water or how much sun you give it. Most of the time, seeds fail to sprout because of one invisible enemy hiding in the soil. Something called damping off. It's a fungus that attacks seeds right as they're trying to wake up, and it's the #1 silent killer of seedlings everywhere. You never see it happening. You just see the disappointment afterward. So the trick isn't about forcing a seed to grow faster. The trick is protecting it long enough to grow at all. Now here's where that $3 item comes in. And I promise you, it's already in your cupboard. Chamomile tea. Yes, the same tea you sip before bed to help you relax. Turns out, chamomile has natural properties that fight off the exact fungus responsible for killing young seedlings. Old-timers used to brew it strong and use it on delicate seed trays long before anyone had a fancy name for what it was doing. They just knew it worked. So instead of plain water, you're going to use cooled chamomile tea to wake your seeds up. Here's exactly how Miss Dorothy does it now, and how you can too. First, brew 2 tea bags in a cup of hot water. Let it steep for about 10 minutes, nice and strong. Then let it cool completely. This part matters. Hot tea will hurt your seeds, not help them. Second, take a paper towel and fold it in half. Lay your seeds along one side, then fold the other half over so the seeds are wrapped snugly inside. Third, soak that folded paper towel in your cooled chamomile tea until it's damp all the way through, not dripping, just moist. Fourth, slide the damp towel into a sandwich bag or a small container with a lid. This traps warmth and moisture together, basically creating a tiny greenhouse right on your countertop. Fifth, place it somewhere warm. On top of the refrigerator works wonderfully. That gentle heat rising from the fridge motor speeds things along beautifully. And now you wait. But not for 2 weeks like before. With this method, most seeds show real sprouting within 2 to 4 days. Beans and squash are sometimes even quicker. Once you see that little white tail poking through the seed coat, that's your sign it's ready to move into soil. I want you to understand why this isn't just some random trick floating around online. The paper towel method itself has been used by serious gardeners for decades because it lets you actually see germination happening instead of digging around blindly in soil wondering if anything's alive under there. But swapping plain water for chamomile tea is the upgrade most people never think to make. You're not just creating moisture. You're creating a protective environment that fights the very thing that kills seedlings before they even get a fighting chance. It's the difference between hoping your seeds survive and actually giving them armor. Now, if this is helping you see your garden a little differently already, do me a favor. Tap that like button right now. It genuinely helps this video reach more folks just like you who are tired of wasting money and seeds on things that don't work. And while you're at it, drop a comment below. Tell me what you're hoping to grow this season. Tomatoes? Peppers? Maybe some flowers for that empty corner of your yard? I read every single one, and I love seeing what this community is working on. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's a perfect time. We share tricks like this every single week, all designed to help you garden smarter without spending money you don't need to spend. Alright, let's keep going. Now, this trick isn't just for tomatoes. It works beautifully on beans, peppers, squash, cucumbers, marigolds, zinnias, and even sunflowers. Basically anything you'd normally start indoors before moving outside once the weather warms up. A word of caution though. Very tiny seeds, like lettuce or carrots, can be tricky with the paper towel method simply because they're so small and delicate to handle once they sprout. For those, you're better off using this chamomile tea trick to lightly mist your soil instead of soaking a towel. Same protective benefit, just a gentler application. Here's something extra I'll throw in, since you've stuck with me this far. After your seeds sprout and you move them into soil, keep using that leftover chamomile tea to water them for their first week in the dirt. It continues protecting those baby roots while they're still fragile and adjusting to their new home. Most people only think about protecting seeds during germination, then forget that the first week in soil is just as risky. This little extension of the trick can be the difference between a seedling that thrives and one that mysteriously wilts for no clear reason. Now, I know some of you watching might be thinking, this sounds too simple to actually work. And I understand that feeling. We've all been sold expensive seed starter mixes, root boosters, special trays with heating mats, all promising faster germination. But here's the honest truth. Nature already gave us most of what we need. We've just been convinced we need to buy our way into good results. Miss Dorothy didn't spend $40 on a fancy setup. She spent $3 on tea bags and got a tray full of thriving tomato seedlings 2 weeks earlier than her usual method. Sometimes the best gardening secrets aren't secrets at all. They're just things we forgot to pay attention to. So here's your homework this week. Grab whatever seeds you've been meaning to plant. Brew a strong cup of chamomile tea. And give this method a try, even just on a few seeds to start. Watch what happens over the next few days. I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. Gardening doesn't have to be complicated, expensive, or reserved for people with green thumbs and endless patience. Sometimes it just takes the right little trick, passed down the old-fashioned way, to make everything click. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up so more gardeners just like you can find it. Subscribe to Evergreen Garden Tips if you haven't already, because we've got so many more simple, budget-friendly tricks coming your way. And leave a comment letting me know if you're going to try this chamomile tea method. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Now go grow something beautiful.